Dear students, today we are going to learn the guidelines for framing interview questions. The interview questions, one of the most important questions, a compulsory question in your paper, where you have to frame 10 questions for 4 marks, and the sequence flow of the questions is very important. Let's learn more about it. The first thing, use simple and acceptable language while framing interview questions. Simple language. Don't use very heavy words because you may make mistakes. Generally, when you try to use big words, heavy words, and you try to use a very complicated language, you tend to make a mistake in framing the sentences. You make grammatical mistakes, you can make spelling mistakes. So let the questions be very simple and acceptable language. Now, what is acceptable language? No using language which is informal. A formal language is expected. Like yeah, hi, hello. These words should be avoided. Some questions should be assisted with statements to make it more convincing. I had taught you last year that rather than starting the question directly, add a statement to it so that your question becomes a little more convincing. For example, if you say you're interviewing a musician or a singer, let's take example of a singer. You'll talk about some songs which are edited, the old song which are edited. So you can start with the statement, nowadays new songs, the old songs are edited and remixed and used in a movie. What is your view about it? So when you talk about or you add a statement, you already are telling the person you're asking the question that you know about that matter. The question should be based on the given points or hints, and this I have been telling you repeatedly. If it is a question for a singer or a writer, then okay, what are your future plans? How did you achieve this goal? So these types of questions. But if it is for a flood victim, you're not going to ask him what are your future goals. You're not going to ask him how did you prepare yourself for the flood. So these questions should be according to the hints that are given to you. Many of you all do not write the intro and the sum up, which is very important. So in the bracket, write the short intro, the introduction, about whom you are inviting, whom you are going to interview, what achievements that person has got, or maybe you are calling a person who is a flood victim, what are the problems he had faced. That can be told in short in the interview. Like the audience should know whom you are going to interview and who is the person that you are going to host. Even summing up at the end, if it is a great personality who has come to your show, you're going to ask a message to that person. So you have to conclude, you have to sum up on what actually you want to tell the audience. Like we call a person a great personality, the message that you have to give as an interviewer is that how the life of that person whom you are interviewing is a model life, is a life which one can take example from. If it's about a flood victim, your conclusion can be about how you have the empathy, you understand the feelings of the flood victims, and appeal to the people to help to those who have been flood victims. So this is how you have to sum up. not just a line with like thank you for coming to our show. That is there, that has to be there, but again you have to give a message from your side. It should contain introductory question, content question, probing question, and closing question. Now this should be your sequence of the question. Introductory question. Please, introductory question doesn't mean you have to ask the name. Introductory question is something that you're going to tell in short about that person. If it is a singer or an actor or a writer who has received an award recently, you will start with that question about how he or she feels about receiving an award, and it was the purpose that you had called that person to the show in order to tell the people how to achieve great success. The content questions. Now these are very important. They differ from those to the personalities, the famous personalities, to flood victims, or maybe people who have faced difficulties, or people who have achieved, who have shown bravery. So the content questions should be different for each, and through the content question you should try to bring out the life of that person, right from how he has studied, who was his supporter, what was his goal, whom did he or she take as a role model, the difficulties that person had faced during, or the struggle that person had come across during the period of the training, or maybe during the entire success story. There should be some probing questions, some thought-provoking question, something that person will think and tell you, like about, maybe you can ask him about his views or her views in that particular field, how it can be made available to all the people, or how the young generation can be told about it, informed about particular thing. For example, take music or dance. Generally people take this as an extra career option, but those who are really good at dance, really good at singing, can make it as a main career option. That is an art form. So you can ask question about how parents can be convinced about their children getting into this art form. And the closer question. The closer question, one question which is very important is, you have to ask the message. If it comes from a famous personality, even if it is a flood victim, that means people who have faced difficulties, the last question will be, what are your suggestions in order to avoid such, maybe not avoid, how to face such natural calamities? What preparations and what precautions can be taken in advance? So these are the different types of questions that can be asked. Now here are a few examples of how the questions should be. The initial few questions, that means the first 2 or 3 questions, should be about the past events. What about his past life? How his past life was? And so the questions will be in the past tense. The second part of the questions should be about the present event. For example, if it is a actor or a singer or a writer, at present what are his writings? At present what is he doing? At present what is he thinking of, whether he is thinking of writing a new book or continuing to complete a novel, or if it is a singer, focus on concerts or continue singing as a background singer. So these are the various questions that you can be asking, and these questions have to be in the present tense. So the first 2-3 questions will be in the past tense. The second 2-3-4 questions should be in the present tense, because you're going to ask about the present events, and the ending questions should be in future tense, because these are the questions you're going to ask about the future plans. Generally, the last 2 questions should be about the future plans or message to the audience, people, generation. This is how you're going to write the interview questions. Remember one thing, very important thing, that the questions should be in chronological order and the life events and proper tenses. Like, you cannot be asking the first question, what are your future plans, and then you're asking the author or the singer or the whatever the famous person, whoever the famous personality is, you cannot be asking him the question in the beginning, what are your future plans, and at the end, what was the struggle that you, or how did you overcome the difficulties. So the questions have to be in a proper chronological order. Questions should be relevant to the topic. You have called a person because he has received an award. The natural intention of you calling is motivating the people in this field, or maybe the people younger generation, in order to understand the importance of it, or maybe you're trying to motivate people to get into this field. So the question should be relevant. You cannot be asking a writer about what can be done by the government in order to increase employment. No. You can ask how the government can help those singers in making up their career. So the topic should be relevant. Grammar structure must be given priority. Now here is where you lag. The tenses, the framing the questions. So the grammar structure should be given priority. The tenses, the pronouns you are using, the framing the sentences. And unless you practice, you cannot be writing a perfect or framing a perfect question. And the last one is the number of questions. Don't write more than 10 questions. The first thing, you need enough time to complete the other writing skills. Secondly, the more questions you write, you may set your mind, or the link of the questions may change. Since you're going to on writing the questions, the sequence may not be followed, and then you ask any questions which are not relevant. So better write few questions as in 8 to 10 questions. So I repeat the few things that you have to do while writing the interview questions. First thing, write the introduction, followed by the first 2-3 questions which will be based on the past events, hence the questions will be in the past tense. Second 3-4 questions will be based on the present events, hence they should be in the present tense. Third set of questions should be on the future plans and a message to the people. Also remember to frame the sentences, the questions, in proper chronological order. Followed by the PPT, you will have to solve the interview questions. Write or frame a set of interview questions.